I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not listening till I see God or a checkered flag.
Hello, and welcome back to Racing Thoughts and IndyCar Podcast. I'm Megan Dennis.
And I'm Meg Taylor.
And due to scheduling issues and just a whole lot of life has been very busy, we have taken a little bit of time off, so we did not get the thermal recap. And Cass is not here like we promised last time. You just get stuck with the two of us.
So
Um,
sorry, guys.
but with that said, we're going to look ahead towards Long Beach preview going into this upcoming weekend. Should be a fairly short episode again, with it just being a preview. Before quite really we hit the ground running from Barber until the end of May with everything coming up, and we have hopefully got some good stuff planned out to kind of get everyone ready for those who may be new to the sport or getting into it as far as what that looks like gearing up to, it's actually attending a race this year and what that looks like, but also on top of that, what in the world? Do you see that on the screen?
What?
There kept being like a little thumbs up, like at the bottom of the screen.
What is happening?
Weird.
Okay. Very strange. Anyways, all of that to say, we hopefully have some good content coming up for what the month of May looks like because it is a lot to learn if you are kind of seeing it for the first time. And, things are done pretty differently, but the month of May is what makes IndyCar very special. So we're excited for what we've got coming up there.
And speaking of things coming up, we're going to get into news for the week. Some that I think is actually pretty interesting and that does tie into the month of May. Some that I think is just a little bit fun. And I guess kicking that off, we did get word from Roger Penske. He went on record with the IMS Museum's reopening preview for the press earlier last week, talking about how we are going to 100% have some sort of fully new car, the chassis, the engine, and everything that goes into it by 2027. So that was one thing where, we were hearing, maybe next year, maybe 2028, maybe it'll just be parts of the car, depending on who you were talking to, who was saying different kind of bits and pieces of it. But, Roger Penske, president of the IndyCar, has come out and actually said, like, no, this is happening. Everything is here, and this is where we kind of stand.
Yeah, he's saying that they have the car in design. It's currently in the wind tunnel and they want to bring it for 2027, but they're also saying that there's probably going to be upgrades that would be add-ons throughout 2027 and 28. So as soon as we figure out any of those details, we'll be on it to kind of explain everything about what's different, what's new, but if Roger Penske's coming on record to say that like the changes that they're making are hopefully to, make it safer and make it better, I'm all for it. So I'm intrigued to see what this complete redesign is going to be.
I guess along with that, because, this news did come from the press preview that happened last week, we are right on the cusp of truly opening to the public of the IMS Museum. They've previously had this museum, but they've really done like tons of rework over the last couple years, really this past year, of completely redesigning it, completely making it like a whole kind of almost immersion experience for fans. All the pictures and everything that are coming out from, the people who have gone to see it look amazing. So, that's really exciting as far as that goes.
Yeah. There's some really cool stuff that happened within like IMS, like the museum. And, I will have to say, I love the IMS museum and I've no shame applied to work there so many times. But the director of education, Jake Apollos, he's done some really amazing work with, like you said, Megan, making it very immersive, but they have like a really cool, like STEAM focused classroom and exhibit where people can learn about different elements of what makes a successful race car. There's technical knowledge, and it seems like they are really trying to be better about preserving the integrity and the culture of motorsport just in general. And I don't know, I think it's really cool and I really want to go. So, IMS Museum, feel free to hire me.
Or just let us know if we can come tour during the month of May. We'll figure the scheduling part out. All right, next bit of news I'm saying is pretty important because Andretti posted it as breaking news, so it's pretty important in my opinion. Ricciardo got a haircut.
He did. And you know what? It looks phenomenal.
we'll touch on it in a minute, but this is Colton's home race coming up this week, so I guess he decided it was time for, honestly, quite a fairly big chop by
Yeah.
his standards. So, that was nice to see. Pleasant surprise on that front.
But I will say, he did not cut it too short, which I feel like often happens with boys with long hair, and then they decide to cut it, and it's like, oh no, you went too short and you went too far in the other direction. So shout out to Colton's hairstylist for getting it right.
Next bit of news I actually saw today, which I thought was pretty interesting. I guess I just missed this earlier in the week. But Jay Fry, former IndyCar president, he stepped down when good old Doug took over a couple months ago. He is now president of RRL, taking over for their COO, who's only the guy previously had only been there 2 years. So I think this is pretty interesting from RRL's standpoint. The
Mhm.
article I was reading was talking about how Jay will report directly to the owners, which of course are Bobby Rahal, David Letterman, and Mr. Lanigan. I'm sorry, I don't know your first name. But I thought this was very interesting, and I think maybe is going to be a good move for RRL because Jay Fry is really known for having a technical background when it comes to cars. Like that was, we didn't hear Jay talk to the media a lot as the head of IndyCar. He kind of left that more to Mark Miles, where it's like, we're seeing Doug be able to balance both really, really well. That was not Jay's side of things that he really took kind of part in. So I think this should be really interesting from that standpoint to kind of see what does this mean for RL, knowing that he's reporting, directly to the owners. What is this? Does this mean anything? Where who knows?
Yeah, I did not see that at all until you had mentioned it. So I guess we'll see.
Also, his daughter works for the University of Alabama and went there, so roll tide to the Fry family. All right, next bit of news is actually more towards the month of May, and we'll touch more on who this person is if you are not familiar once we do our May preview coming out, I think in 2 weeks, if I remember the schedule correctly. But with this, Prime Video, and by association, Amazon, is sponsoring Kyle Larson's double attempt. They've been apparently filming a video for since 2023. This was come out last year, but with all the rain delay stuff, that kind of got canned knowing he would do it again this year. So there'll be some sort of feature coming out with that for Kyle Larson's attempt to do the Indianapolis 500 and the Daytona 600, not Daytona, the Coca-Cola 600. I'll touch more on the double when we talk about Kyle Larson and what all that means. Next bit of news is coming out of Thermal. Yes, I know that there was a lot of stuff that came out of Thermal that, whether that's the broadcasting stuff, whether it's the Devlin and Scotty Mac fight, a lot of stuff that happened there. I think for the sake of our time and the fact that we are kind of a good bit removed on that, I think for an audience sake, we are probably going to skip that. But we'll touch on the fact that both Colton Herta and Robert Schwartzman got fined in their entrance points. So they're both down, I want to say 10 entrance points plus a monetary fine associated with this. This doesn't have any effect on their standings in the driver championship, but yeah, that's something there.
Oh, what did they even get fined for?
So Robert's car was on big fire.
Oh,
Big, 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 big fire.
okay.
Big fire from practice. And because it was something that Prema did not secure the car correctly, which kind of like what led to it being the size of it was. It was after practice one. They had to completely rebuild the car, like bring in the extra chassis. Like it was bad. He was fine. But like it's like the mechanics literally got like 30 minutes to go to the shower and come back to the track. Like he got no running until the start of quali. So
Oh
they
my,
got fined because of that, because it was a major like safety breach.
yeah.
And then Colton's something in pit lane. Yeah, it was a Colton issue. The
Oh,
typical Colton issue of like, it wasn't Colton's fault. It's
yeah.
team and Freddie fault. But so that's why it's like neither of them are being affected in their championship standings
All
for the
right.
driver championship, but the entrance championship is being, which we've never really touched on that, so I don't really know what that means. And then
Okay.
I guess last bit of news we kind of have is that the IMS road test. So 8 drivers were supposed to be there. That was supposed to be the JHR guys, the Chip Ganassi guys, somebody else, and then Jacob Abel. Basically, the teams who did not run at Barber plus Jacob Abel were going to get to run the IMS road course as their extra testing day that everyone else took previously. Got rained out, so I guess sucks for those teams to not be able to get that done.
Yeah, that's brutal. It just seems like poor circumstances on that.
And then, yeah, everything else from thermal, like I said, I think we're going to skip just for the sake of our time and y'all's with it being kind of removed. Meg, I don't know if you saw this though, but I think you will find it interesting. The fact that every driver, every team except for Alex Palou had some sort of hybrid issue during the weekend of thermal. And it was all down to the team. Like it was not from like a bigger standpoint hybrid issue, but it was all like within the team hybrid issues.
That is so interesting. I wonder why.
Listen to Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. They talk about it this week.
Okay, good to know.
I don't remember what they said, so I can't fill you in. But Alex breaks it down really well. I think you would honestly find it interesting.
That will be my homework for the afternoon then. So I guess we move on to our Long Beach preview.
That we
Uh,
do.
yeah. So first race that ever happened in Long Beach was in 1975. It is 90 laps. Oh geez. And just under 2 miles, so 1.968 miles with 11 turns. It is a street course. And we said that this is Colton and Rossi's home race, isn't it?
Well,
Pseudo home race.
It's Rossi's pseudo home race. It is 100% Colton Herta's home
Yeah.
race. He is from Long Beach. He went to this race when he was 2 years old, or
Yeah.
not 2 years old, sorry, when he was 2 weeks old to watch his
Oh,
dad race in it. This is the 50th year anniversary of the Long Beach Grand Prix. With this makes it the longest running street race in North America. So with this one, yes, it's Alexander Rossi's pseudo home race, but he also, gets to have Laguna Seca, which is a lot closer to where he's from in Northern California later in the season. But for Colton Herta, who grew up right there in Southern California, he's very much from that area. 2 weeks old, the first time he attended an IndyCar race, it was this race. Like, this race means a lot to the Herta family. Colton won the race in 2021, so I know this is one that like he
it's
wants
very
to win every year.
it's very special. You always want to win your home race, but this one runs deep with them, so makes sense.
Of course, if we're going back last year, Scott Dixon won. Before that, Kyle Kirkwood won. It was historically for a very long time the last race of the season. That's kind of fallen off in, the years now, but it's quite honestly, it's a fun race. Alexander Rossi won back to back in 2018, 2019. James Hinchcliffe won in 2017. So a lot of like the guys that we know currently on the grid in some capacity have won recently. It is if you listen to drivers talk about it, both currently and like in years past, it's probably the race that like they most want to win over any others, other than, of course, the 500. If you win, you do get cemented your face into the ground around the flower beds, around one of the turns. I don't know the layout of it well enough to be able to confirm it, but it is actually really cool. If anyone's interested in watching races, IndyCar does post a lot of the old races on there, and I would highly recommend go watch 2018 Long Beach. It's a really, really fun race. You get to see Sebastian Bourdais like do some of the coolest driving ever, quite honestly. And Alexander Rossi wins. So if you're an Alexander Rossi fan, that's also fun. But all in all, like it's a fun race. It's as far as street races go, I think it's one that the drivers also really, really like when other street races may not be as loved as much on the calendar as this one. So I think that's pretty cool. And then, of course, again, it's the 50th anniversary, so it's a testament to how well loved this track is, the fact that it has stayed on the calendar for this long.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was like continuous like that. That's really cool.
And that's Long Beach.
Yeah. Nice and
Oh,
short, guys.
nice and short. Meg, what's your predictions?
I always got to go with the Pato Rossi Kyle predictions because, got to stay consistent, stay on brand. But I don't know. I want to see Scott Dixon kind of do a back to back the way that Rossi did. I think that would be really cool. I also think that Colton is going to do pretty well as well, but it is also the Pillow show, so he's always going to be up there no matter what. So those are my three to watch.
I think for going off the fact that like St. Pete also was a street race. So if we take kind of, thermal out of that equation, road course, different standings. Looking at that, I think you got to put the Penske's into contention. You can pick any of the three, quite honestly. I don't think it'll be all of the three. I think at least one's probably gonna have a bad weekend, but considering like they all I think Willpower had a good thermal. The other two did not particularly have good thermals, and none
Mhm.
of them had good qualifyings. I think the Penske's are all going to be back for kind of a little bit of revenge. I also think Andretti's going to be really good. I think if Colton can get away from his curse that he's been having lately, then like he'll probably be good. I'm going Alexander Rossi because Alexander Rossi said himself, and he is not one to say this, that he thinks he can win Long Beach. So
All
I'm
right.
gonna put money on I'm gonna put fake, it's not real money on sports bet. I feel like in this economy that needs to be clarified. It's also illegal in the state of South Carolina, but I'm going to put my hypothetical money on Alexander Rossi.
You know what? Yeah, sure. Why not? We'll throw him up there too.
I also think one to what as far as, who kind of in that mid pack, Louis Foster. Louis Foster qualified well in St. Pete. He just unfortunately got caught up in that first turn incident. I
Mhm.
also think like his thermal went really well and could have gone a lot better if his car hadn't stalled leaving the pit box to start the race. So
Oh, poor thing.
I think Louis Foster's due some good luck. I think he has a lot of pace in that car. I think he has
Mhm.
a lot of potential in that car. So, as always, I don't know what we're watching them for, but watch Louis Foster.
I like that. One to watch. We don't know. Something might happen. We
Something
don't
might
know.
happen. All right. Our standings in the top 10 as we currently have it. In 10th place, Scott McLaughlin. 9th, Alexander Rossi. 8th, Colton Herta. 7th, Joseph Newgarden. 6th, Kyle Kirkwood. 5th, Felix Rosenquist. 4th, Christian Lungar. 3rd, Scott Dixon. 2nd, Pato Award. And your reigning NTT IndyCar Series champion and championship leader is Alex Palou. Hey, and someone's got to beat him. Like that's what it comes down to. Like,
Yeah. Like I said, it has been the Pillow show, and he makes it fun.
all right. Do we have anything else for this short episode?
I think this is the short episode.
So, Long Beach preview. That's what y'all are listening to now. We'll be back with our recap next week, and then from there, we're gonna be getting ready for Barber. As always, check us out on our socials, Instagram and TikTok, Racing Thoughts Podcast. And we are on Twitter, Racing One Thoughts. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.